Hey there, welcome to another episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host Moandain. This video is part of my favorite series, and today we're going to be talking about the Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo is one of my favorite systems. It actually brought me back into gaming after I'd taken my first break from video games. I was going through and concentrating on school, playing band and stuff like that, playing on the drum line and stuff, and I just really didn't have time for games at that point in time. But the Super Nintendo was one of the systems that kind of brought me back into video games. So here's my list of my favorite games. They're not in actually any particular order because I like these games so much that I just couldn't get them into a specific order. So with all of that said, let's get on with it. Brandish was released in 1991 by Koei. Brandish is more of a survival horror Zelda style game. I wouldn't say zombies or anything like that, but as the story goes, you're fighting with this sorceress and you two fall into this ancient ruins that are really, really deep, and it takes a good amount of time to actually beat this game. It's very well put together, and it was one of the first games that I beat that had multiple endings, and yeah, trust me, I got my vengeance in the first time I beat the game. But I had saved right before, so I went back and did the nice guy win too. Next is Castlevania Dracula X, released in 1995 by Konami. This is one of the more expensive Super Nintendo cartridges that I have, and it's worth it. Now, I know that Rondo of Blood on the TurboGrafx 16 CD is vastly superior, but this is what we were given in the US. Now, a lot of people throw this game a little bit of hate just because of the difficulty and how it was ramped up. I don't know why they ramped up the difficulty, but they did. Next is Kirby Dream Course, released in 1994 by Nintendo. This is a very simple game, but and it's easy to learn how to play, but very difficult to master. It's Kirby. I like Kirby. And it's a little bit like miniature golf, but you're playing it with Kirby, and there's a couple of, curveballs and stuff that they throw you, and it's just a lot of fun. I would suggest picking a copy up if you can pick one up for the right price. Next is Knights of the Round, released 1994 by Capcom. It's basic side-scrolling beat 'em up, where you just run around and you're playing as the Knights of the Round or King Arthur. It's very well put together. It was released back when side-scrolling beat 'em ups were the thing, and even though most of them were the same, this one kind of stood out to me, and I really enjoyed it. Next we have Ogre Battle: March of the Black Queen, released 1995 by Atlas. This was one of the RPGs that I picked up on the system, and I don't regret it. Now, I know that the combat system is a little different, where you don't really get to control things that much, and I've never played through as more of a good guy than a bad guy. I did fight quite a bit at night, and I did use vampiric units and things of that nature. So I do plan on going back and revisiting this game and trying to be a little bit nicer in this and not so cutthroat. Next we have Shadowrun, released 1993 by Data East. Now, I actually played the pen and paper Shadowrun game, and I really liked that world, So when I saw this game, I knew I had to have it. Now they did take some liberties with like how the character is and what they can and can't do and stuff like that, but it was one of the first early adaptations of a pen and paper role-playing game that felt more accurate than some of the earlier ones, like Dungeons and Dragons on the Intellivision and things of that nature. Next we have Star Fox, released 1993 by Nintendo. Star Fox was the first introduction of the FX chip. It was a wonderful game, and it still continues to be a wonderful game. Heck, even Nintendo is releasing an unreleased version of Star Fox 2, on the SNES Classic. By the time this video is released, that system should already be out and people should be playing it. But the original Star Fox was just so far beyond everything, and how the controls were, and the graphics, and how things looked 3D. It was very well done. Next we have Sunset Riders, released 1991 by Konami. This is a arcade port, and it's fairly true to form. I've played the arcade, and I've played the Super Nintendo version, and I actually own the Super Nintendo version. And it's just a lot of fun. It's another couch co-op game that you and friends can just throw the cartridge in, pop it up on the screen, sit back, and play until you get bored, or until someone needs to get home. You can spend several hours playing this game, and the replayability is pretty top-notch. The next game is Super Mario RPG, released in 1996 by Nintendo and Squaresoft. I started playing this game when I got my wisdom teeth out, so I was laid up and not able to do anything, and just trying to get the swelling to go down. And I poured a lot of hours into this game, and it's fun. The combat system is a little bit action-oriented for bonus damage and things of that nature. It was a good storyline. It uses specialized chips inside of the cartridge. The graphics are wonderful. The music is great. The story is great. The roster of characters that you get to take with you and use and have in your party is very innovative. This was one of the first times that Mario got to step outside of his normal comfort zone and participate in an RPG, and they nailed it. It's great. I know the game is stupidly expensive, but it's worth playing. And then finally, one of my big-time favorites is Uniracers, released in 1994 by Nintendo. Unfortunately, Uniracers will never be released on any virtual consoles because of some Pixar lawsuits. Something about the Uniracers actually looking like a character that they had done in a movie, or a movie short, or anything like that. And honestly, it's an animated unicycle that has been given characteristics to show emotion or intent or something like that, and it's an object that's been animated. I really think they were kind of out of line when they filed this copyright infringement, but they won. Hopefully Nintendo will come back and fight this a little bit and get it released on the virtual console, because it's worth playing. It's one of the first games that I would put in the genre of stunt racer, where as you complete stunts and you land them correctly, you go faster. And me and my friends spent lots, and I mean lots of time playing this game, and unfortunately it got a very low release number, but it's definitely worth picking up if you can even find a copy, and I have no idea how expensive it's going to be. I would expect it to be over $20 easily, but it's one of my favorites. It's in my collection. I don't see myself parting with it anytime soon. Well, that's it for this episode of Moandain Designs. I'm your host, Moandain, and I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like what you see, you can support me and my channel on Patreon by clicking the link below. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.